Okay, today we're reviewing matrices. Did a lot yesterday, so we got through this much stuff. These are three typical problems that I would have wanted you to know from yesterday. And so this first problem needs a little explanation. It's like a 6x1 matrix. It's not, but you need to figure out what by what. This 8 is one of the elements of the matrix, and it gets a name. Based on this D, you should be able to tell me what the name is. Next, number 2, this is a adding and multiplying and even a little bit of sort of like dividing in this matrix problem. And it comes out to a matrix answer. And last but not least, we have C, which is a set of equations that can turn into a matrix. I'm going to give you a minute to answer these questions. I'll pause for a moment. Tell me how to do number 1. What do you think? It's a what by what? Tell me why it's a 2 by 4. Rows, columns. All right, and there is 2 rows. Columns go up and down, so they're like what hold up buildings. So you are correct. Okay, good. And then that 8 there is an element that we would call D24, which would mean that it's in row 2. See, these are rows, and it is in row 2. And column 4, I agree. Raise your hand if you had that exactly the same as him. Sweet, you guys have pretty good memories for this stuff. Number 2, we have to multiply this thing out to start with. You don't have to do this first, but I'm going to. 2 times 3 makes 6. 2 times 1 makes 2. 2 times 4 makes 8. 2 times 7 makes, or negative 7 makes negative 14. Now the 2's been done. Now I'm going to do the 1/2 times everything. 1/2 times 4, 2. 1/2 times 2 is 1. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2, and 1/2 times 0 is still 0. There, I just did the 1/2 times everything. And now I'm going to do to subtract. 6 minus the 2 makes 4. And then 2 minus the 1 makes 1. And then 8 minus the 1/2 makes 7.5. And last, the negative 14 minus the 0 makes negative 14. Okay. And then, did I do that right, first of all? I could easily see myself making a mistake, but some smart kids are nodding their head. That's good. Number 3, I would rearrange this a little bit. I would put 1x here instead of the x that's right there. I would put minus y right underneath the other y's instead of this y right here. And then I would have put 0z right here. That will help me to keep this organized. 2, 3, negative 1, 10. Those were the coefficients. And what are these things that don't have variables called? Constants. All right. They get pulled out from the variables. So there's no variables in your matrix. 1, negative 1, 0, and 5. Do you get that the order of things really matters a lot? You got to put all your x's first, then your y's, then your z's. If you don't have any of something, you just put 0 of that. Now, one of the things you will learn is how to solve this. And there's a cool little thing on your calculator that will allow you to put in matrices and then solve them. So we'll get to that in a bit. And by the way, solving it means that it'll tell me x is this, y is this, and z is this. It can tell me all 3. All right. One little problem I have here, though, now that I just realized this, if you did the matrix this way, you're right, and it's good. But weirdly, I don't have enough information to solve it. This is one of those rules that I went over earlier this year. If you have one variable, you only need one equation. If you have 2 variables, you need 2 equations. How many variables did I have here? 3 variables, and I only have 2 equations. There's not enough info to solve it. If you had put this into the calculator, it would have said no solution, because there's not enough info to solve it. I would need a third equation. The third equation could be as simple as, like, what if they told me what y was? Like y equals 1. Then I could say it's 0x plus y plus 0z equals 1. But I would need to know a little more info, because that's not enough info to solve it. If you have 3 variables, you need what? 3 equations. 3 equations. All right, that's something you'll get into more in pre-calc, but I gave you enough info so you could write a matrix, but you did not have enough info to actually solve it all the way. All right, enough of that. Let's find the new file that's posted with today's date on it, and I'll resume in a moment once we have that up. So, learning to multiply matrices. This is the hardest thing. We're going to do this where we say what kind of matrix it is, and the other matrix, what kind it is. See if these two match, and if they match, the outside tells us what kind of matrix we have. That was way too fast, but I think it's better to show you in a problem. All right, so this first one. It's a what by what. Remember, think through the rows and columns. Columns hold up buildings. That is not a column. It wouldn't hold up a building. Okay, so it's how many rows? 1 by how many columns? 3, 1 by 3. And this other guy, it's how many rows? 3 by how many columns? 2. Now, if these two match, they can be multiplied. Just so you know, not everything can be multiplied. With normal numbers, anything can be multiplied. You can even multiply by 0. But in matrices, you can't. With matrices, the right way to say that, you can't just multiply anything. Only certain things can be multiplied. And I could say this in a really complicated way, that the number of columns in the first matrix must match the number of rows in the second matrix, but you'd never remember that. But if I show you this little example where you like write out what kind they are, you can do that, I think. And then if these two match, that two tells you what kind of a matrix you will have at the end. In other words, this is funny looking thing by more of a squarish looking thing. What's the answer going to be? It's hard to know. It's not actually either one of them. The answer will be a 1 by 2. So what I like to do to actually draw the matrix out for myself is think through with a couple of eggs, is that 1 by 2? Yeah, it is. And these can be numbers eventually like this, but you don't know what the answers are yet, but it's going to be a matrix that looks like that. What I mean is, as opposed to 1 by 2, I could easily see somebody goofing up and thinking the answer would look like this. A number here and a number here. But that would be a 2 by 1. How do I know it's not that way? Because it says right here that it's a 1 by 2. Okay? All right, so this guy will be a 1 by 2. And if instead of just writing this, if I just leave a couple of big brackets, it makes me think that maybe it looks like this. Maybe it's a 2 by 2. So I think it's smart to write the little eggs in there and then fill in those little eggs or little cells what the answer is. So this is, again, a 1 by 2. I'll need numbers in there. All right, this next part, to actually do the multiplying, I got to somehow get all of these 3 numbers plus these 6 numbers. Those 9 numbers have to somehow go together and give me the answer over here. Now, just so you know, this is a skill on the ACT, as in this could easily be an ACT question. And once you're done with this unit, this will be an easy one. Like, this will be, bam, I can do this, no problem. It's easy. Okay? And if nothing else, you'll remember how I showed you could put them in the calculator. Because the calculator can multiply them. And on the ACT, you'll have a calculator the whole time. So this one is definitely a stumper for a lot of people. Because this is tricky. It's not just like, oh, this times this. It's not that easy. But again, hopefully something that can raise your ACT score down the road. All right. Now I'm not showing you how to actually multiply it yet. You're not quite ready yet. We should make sure we get really good at this other thing. So this is a something by something. This is a something by something. Would you please figure out what that is and what that is, and then see if they will work. And if they will work, draw an empty matrix with little eggs where the numbers should be to show what it is. Like, let's say it comes out to be a 3 by 1. If it was a 3 by 1, it'd be 3 rows and 1 column. It'd look like that. Okay. Pause for a second while I give that a try. All right. This is a 3 by 2, and this is a 2 by 2. The inside ones have to match, and do they? Yes. Then that means the answer will be a 3 by 2 matrix. And hint, sometimes you get one that's the same as what you already have. Like, isn't this a 3 by 2 matrix? So I know what it looks like now. You know what I mean? I don't have to really think that hard about it. It's like that. Put the little eggs in there. It'll help. That make sense? Okay. Try the next one. Number 3. Make an empty matrix that's the right size to put that answer, unless it happens to be one where you can't do it, maybe. I'm sure one of these 4 is going to be this one won't work. Because that's a big deal on matrices, is they don't all multiply. Get a 3 by 2, kind of looks like that. Raise your hand if you're hanging with this. You're getting this. Okay, good. Then, do the last one here, number 4. I bet you that's the one that doesn't work. Two rows, 4 columns. 4 rows, 4 columns. Dang, they all worked. But do you get that they wouldn't have... Oh! I thought it... I even thought it shouldn't work, and then I still came up with the wrong answer. Oh, okay. So it is 4 rows. They're like this. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows across. And you're right, there's only 3 columns. Okay. So it works, and it's a 2 by 3, and neither one of these was a 2 by 3. So then I can look up at what a 2 by 3 was up higher. But if I just think about it, 2 rows with 3 in each. Sometimes take a minute to like make sure you got it right, but there we go. All right. Now, I'm going to just show you how to do one egg, one element in this one. And some of you are going to catch on. I'm going to do the slightly simpler one in problem 3 here. I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to pick like a not simple one. I'm going to pick like that one. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that egg. First of all, you got to label that egg. So I'm going to say that this is like matrix A, so I'm going to call it little a. And then, what is its spot? Remember, this is like, if I put a 2, 1 there, it would mean like row 2, column 1. Okay, well, it's not that. What is this one? A what? 2, 2. Why is that important? Because it's like a little address that's telling you, here's what you should do. You should use row. Remember, the first one's always the row, right? Row 2 and column 2. Row 2 from this one and column 2 from that one will give you this spot. It's both the address of this, it's like, hey, I'm at A22 or A22, but you use row 2 and column 2 to get that. So those 6 numbers are going to give me that egg, that element. So here's how you do it. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can see the numbers. That 2 goes with that 4. And since this is a multiply problem, you multiply them. 2 times 4 makes 8. All right, I'm just going to do my work off to the side here. 8. And then I'm going to take the 5 and the 7, and that makes 35. And then I'm going to take the 1 and the 0, and what's 1 times 0? 0, and then I'm going to add them all together. If you multiplied them all, you'd never be able to do these without a calculator because, like 8 times 35 times some other number, holy crap, they'd get huge. But the nice part is it's just all the little multiplies, and at the end you take the three numbers and you add them. 8 plus 35 plus 0. What's 8 plus 35? 43. And so 43 plus 0, 43. That spot, that egg is 43. Do you think you could replicate that? I bet some of you have already learned how to do this and could do a spot. Try just to see. Try the easiest one. Try that one. Some of you guys have got it. Some of you guys will be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Hint, give its address first. That's A11. If you got a nice round number for it, you're probably right. Hey, F, tell me something you're thinking. I didn't mean you, actually. The kid in front of you. Aaron. Good. Which one should I use from this? I know it's 1, but 1 what? Is it row 1 or column 1 from that? Row 1. Okay. Keep going. All right, good. And then which ones go together? The 6 goes with the 7. And what is this essentially, an add problem? No, it's a multiply problem, so you multiply them. 6 times 7 is 42. And then you do the 3 and the 6, and that makes 18. And then the 5 and the 0 just makes 0, which is really nice. So then I have a 42 and an 18. Did you get 60? Raise your hand if you had a 60. Holy cow, you learned it from one example. Nice work. That's what you do each time for every egg. You figure out its address. Okay, where am I? This is row 2, column 1. All it takes is to mess up one thing like that. Like if you by accident think that that's row 2, column 1, you're done. The whole thing's going to be wrong because that is not A21. What is it? A12. And then I will use row 1, this row, with column 2, which is this column. And then I do 6 times 4 and 7 times 3. 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 and 24. 45, I think. Anybody else verify that? Did we get the same thing? Maybe I went too fast. You think it's right? Okay, good. All right. So I know you're not masters of multiplication yet, but that's all you have to do for every little thing. And then once you found all the little eggs there, then you're done. You found the answer to the multiplication problem. So this is a tough one. I mean, I was working with teachers last night to learn how to do this because people don't just, like math teachers, don't just naturally know how to do this. This takes review. It's like, oh, how does that go again? So I was literally, showing teachers how to do this. I've done it for a long time. It's not like, yeah, I'm so smart. It's just I've done it before lately. And so this is not easy stuff. But if you can keep this in your head for the next couple of years and you pull off, if there's an ACT question on it, you'll be like, oh, I know this kind. You just go this times this and that times that, and you add them together. He said, no big deal. All right. So this is showing, again, how you do this. I don't like this, this way of showing it, so I'm not going to show you that way. I showed you the way that I think we should do it already. I don't like to think of it as AB11. I just like to think of it as one letter. But it's the same exact concept. They just call it AB because it's this times this. You do not have to use the AB thing. You can just call it C. We can make a new matrix a name for it and call it C or D or whatever. The key really is these two numbers. If you keep your rows and columns straight, you're going to be fine. All right, so this one, without any preface from me, just from beginning to end, see if you can get the answer to this multiply matrix problem. It's a nice, clean, simple one. They're 2 by 2 matrices. That's called square matrices. And if I were you, I would make your little eggs in here to know exactly where you're going to put the numbers. Okay? It is a 2 by 2 matrix, so this one is pretty clean, pretty simple. But you always, I'm telling you too much. Just do this one without my help. I really encourage you to always label each matrix and say, oh, this is a 1 by 4 and this is a 4 by 1, because sometimes they won't multiply, and you won't know that until you do that. All right, give this one a try. Okay, so here is our first answer here, 23, 31, 34, and 46. Showing how we did this first one. It was in spot 1, 1, so we used row 1 and column 1, and after we multiplied that times that, and that times that, we had 18 and 5, and 18 and 5 added to 23 for an example. All right, how many of you were able to successfully complete this without any help from anybody? Awesome. Then you know the basics of matrices. How can it get worse when they're weirder shapes? Okay, question first. Okay, wait a minute. A22, that'd be this one? Okay, so let's talk it through. That's row 2 and column 2. Row 2, column 2. Is that what you were using? All right. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 4 is 32. Ah, there it is. It's usually just something putsy. All right. So this one, remember me saying if they were strange shapes, you should make sure they work? Really common for kids to get stuck in there like, why isn't this working? Because maybe it just doesn't work. This is a 2 by 1 column. This is a 2 by 2 column. And this one, those don't match. So there is no solution. You cannot multiply them. It's not like you're not smart enough to multiply them. The calculator can't even multiply them. Why? Because you can't do that little thing that we would normally do. And if we do set it up and go, well, I think it's a 2 by 2, so I'm just going to do it. Well, you can, but then you're going to get stuck. A11 is going to work fine because you have a, well, even that's not going to work. Row 1 and column 1, that 1 going with the 5, unless you were allowed to kind of distribute and put the 1 with the 6, but you can't. You're supposed to have 2 numbers here going with 2 numbers here. And I get how you could sort of fake this and kind of distribute it, but you'd be making stuff up. It's supposed to have 2 numbers in the row and 2 numbers in the column to match up. All right, so this one does not work. On to this one. Does this one work? My theory is if I was setting this up, I would make one that doesn't work, and then I would make the one that looks weird, but does work. I bet you this is that one. How many rows? 2. How many columns? 3. How many rows? 3. How many columns? 1. They match. It's going to work. Put your eggs in the right spot. Finish this off. Should do this quick. I'll pause for a sec. All right. Did you know it was a 2 by 1? And then hopefully you knew which way that is. Is that a 2 by 1? No. 2 rows, 1 column. That's a 2 by 1. Okay, and then I put a box around it because these are matrices. And now I'm going to fill in those eggs. This is spot, and again, if you wanted to call this A and B and call this AB, I could live with that. AB, and then this is row what? 1, column what? 1. And it's all really not about the letters, it's about the numbers anyway. Row 1, column 1 means from this, I'm going to take row 1. And from this, I'm going to take column 1. 4 times 4 times 1 is 4. 5 times 0 is 0. 9 times 7 is 63. 63 and 4, 67. Raise your hand if you had 67. Awesome. And then what's the other number? Save me some time. What? 80. All right. Any questions? I think you know how to multiply matrices, which is awesome because that's what the homework's about. See if there's any other twisties in here. Ooh, what if there's a variable? Okay, let me show you what happens. This is a 2 by 2. This is a 2 by 2. And then that means it's going to be a 2 by 2 when it's done. So there's my little eggs. And let's use a spot that uses this. Like for instance, this spot right here would be AB11. And so this row and this column will go together. 1 times 2A. What am I supposed to do if they don't tell me A? You just do 1 times 2A. What is 1 times 2A? It's 2A. Plus, that I can do, 18. 2A plus 18. So you write 2A plus 18 right there. You still do the same thing. It's just you can't simplify it. Really, that's all it is. If this had been like a number like 5, you'd have been able to simplify it down to one number. But it's an A. So you write 2A plus 18 there. That's all there is to it. So I throw a variable into it, it's really not that scary. And your worksheet, we are going to do evens only. I'm going to pause for a second while we find that together. Okay, and here's our key. Now, one thing, on your homework, I do not need to see you show this much work. I almost never say that. I almost always say, show me all your work. On the test, I will want to see your work because it'd be too easy to just copy the 4 numbers off the kid next to you. Okay, so I want to see your work on the test. But if you want to do these in your head, I get that that's 0 and that's 6, and you can add them in your head and write 6 really quick right there. I'm okay. This is rare. I'm okay with you not showing work on these. Okay? You don't have to show me every little step of this. Just go ahead and do the stuff in your head. I would recommend writing this part down of like, oh, it's a 2 by 2. These match, so the answer is a 2 by 2. I would recommend doing that, but I don't even require that. Okay, so this is the key. We're doing evens, which should shorten it up for you, but what if you're terrible at this? Grab a couple of the odds. Do one of those as an extra just in case. All right. And let's just scroll through just to make sure there isn't some nasty little surprise coming at the end of the worksheet. Nope. Nothing crazy. All right, that's all I got for you for today.